Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Brown here, the Jay Bro Show, and I am just tickled to death to introduce to you fine ladies and gentlemen, Robert Wayman, custom knife maker, owner, and founder at Robert Wayman Knives. And you've probably seen him on Forged in Fire, where he was a runner-up on the History Channel. Robert Wayman, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard, Robert. Good to have you.
Good to be here.
So, Robert, for those that don't know, you make custom cutlery, custom knives. You work hard on the forge, and make beautiful, beautiful knives. What got you into specifically making knives?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Jeff, and thanks for that introduction. Greatly appreciated. When I was I've always loved knives. I've just always loved knives ever since I was a kid. When I was a teenager, I tried to make some, and this is pre-internet stuff. I was trying to, figure it out, and I just really lost steam. I just didn't know what I was doing, how to do it. So years went by, and the internet, and I started watching videos, and Forged in Fire came out on the History Channel. Mm-hmm. And after about a year of telling my wife that I wanted to get a custom knife and not getting one because I wanted to meet who made it and maybe see how it was made and stuff like that, she finally was like, "Why don't you just make one yourself?" she might regret that at this point, 6 years later. So I made my first forge, and I got an anvil, and I started getting tools together, and I just got into it. A lot of I'm self-taught for the most part. A lot of just figuring it out and putting the time in, and it's been there's been a tremendous amount to learn in a short amount of time. There's a lot that goes into it. Anybody can just heat up steel and hammer it, but there's so much more. It's a really in-depth process.
Wow, it sounds like it. And from the limited knowledge that I have of it, it sounds like, different materials create, different scenarios and different opportunities and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of steels. Each steel has to be treated correctly as far as the heat treat parameters, how you work it, what the temperature ranges are, how you heat treat it and temper it. So you have to do your research. You have to know what you're working with. You have to know how to work it. And then beyond that, beyond the steel aspect of it, you're looking at your fittings and your handles and how to work wood and shape wood and sculpt. I mean, essentially, it's not just the metal work. There's a lot more that goes into it. And now that I'm doing leather work and making my own sheaths, and it's just progressed, and you keep learning more and more and getting more tools in the toolbox.
Outstanding. Well, I've seen some of the work, and it's gorgeous. But tell me, how a guy who's been doing it for 6-7 years, how did you go from doing it at home to being on Forged in Fire?
Many long days. I'll say that. A lot of long nights, weekends. When I started doing it, it was immediately. I was just really into it, really passionate about it, kind of went down the rabbit hole. And I just was, just nonstop doing it, nights, weekends, long days. And I started to develop my skill set. And a few years ago, I attended the New England Bladesmith Guild has an event in Ashokan, New York. And I attended that a few years ago. And Nick Rossi, who's a demonstrator and educator, he was doing a knife demo, and watching him forge, it really opened my eyes to kind of what was possible if I really put the time in and focused on getting better. So once everything kind of clicked and my stuff started to look good, it started to look more refined, I was putting the time in, I decided to go for Forged in Fire. And, at first I didn't think I had a chance. There's so many talented smiths out there that are applying for the show. But I figured I'd put my hat in the ring, and lo and behold, I heard back from them, and they really, really liked, what I was making. And we did the interview process and everything, and I ended up getting selected for the show, which was really exciting.
That was awesome. How did it do did it help you out with your business? Did you see a nice little
It
lift?
did. It was really, nice to get my name out there. The most important thing was it was nice to show what I could do, because they put you in such a high stress environment. For anybody who's ever watched the show, uh, they don't make it easy on you. I'll say that. They put you in an extremely stressful environment, and you have to perform. It's when they say go, the clock it's on, and you have to go. Uh, so it was challenging, to say the least, but afterwards, the support, encouragement that I received, all the people that started following my page, it was all around, it was a fantastic experience.
Outstanding. Well, that's just, it seems funny that people who actually work hard get lucky. What are the odds?
Who would have thought, in this day and age you can do it?
Is there do you have any other hobbies besides your primary job of making
So I used to have hobbies, like there used to be other things that I did, and then I started knife making. Like I don't do any of them anymore. It's become, it went from a hobby to kind of an obsession, and now it's become a business. And I'm actually going to start teaching myself this summer. I'm in the process of opening up a school with another bladesmith friend of mine in the town of Millbrook, New York. So that's really exciting. We've been working our tails off for the last year to get a new shop area set up. And we're going to be having our grand opening on June 5th. It's the Millbrook School of Knife Making. And we're going to be having classes. And that's since I started doing this, and I started to progress and try different knives and sell knives. And I think I'm in 23, 24 states right now. My knives are in. I wanted to teach it just because it's a really great craft. Even if you're just a hobbyist who wants to have a little fun and play around, and come take a class for a weekend, teaching's always been one of my goals. So I'm really excited to give that a shot.
Outstanding. Yeah, we talked, briefly before we got on about, a little bit about cigars, and in a way I see those two as kind of a relationship, if you will, because not much has changed in the world of custom cigars. It's old school.
Yep.
You get in there, you have to age the tobacco, you roll it by hand, and it's kind of the way it is with knife making. It's not something that, modern technology can super, help you out with. It's old school technology, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's fire, steel, a hammer. You're shaping the steel. So in that aspect, I mean, there's modern technologies with different, power equipment and grinders that speed up the process, but it's still essentially the same process that it's been for thousands of years now. So yeah, that's something that kind of drew me to the craft originally, too, was just how ancient the craft is, how far back it goes. And I mean, just like, with cigars, I mean, you're going back years and years, and like you said, they're still handcrafted and handmade today, and it's just phenomenal.
Well, with all that being said, and for those that don't know, and I know this is kind of this is a total off the wall question, but what is the typical process for creating roughly? How long does it take you to go from basically start to finish with a custom knife?
So it can take quite a few hours, depending on the complexity of the knife. A lot of times, if I'm making what would be considered a mono steel knife, where it's just one steel, and I source my steels domestically, so those don't take as long because you've got the steel, you can put it in the forge, you can get right to work. If I'm making what's considered Damascus steel or pattern welded steel, that's the knives you see, the steel with the patterning.
Black and
yeah, exactly. That can add a lot of time to the process, because before you even get started on making your knife, you have to make your steel. So that can be quite a process, and depending on the Damascus itself, you can be looking at hours of forging, welding, drawing out, cutting, restacking, patterning. So the overall process is quite extensive.
Wow, that's great. And then, I mean, you also do the handles and you do the sheaths as well, all handmade, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So beyond just making the knife, you have all the components of the knife. You've got the guard, and I'd like to do, I like my knives. Obviously, function comes first. They need to perform, they need to do their job. But I like to do, different materials and different combinations to add a little bit of complexity to the overall blade. So visually, it stands apart as well.
Outstanding. Well, I know you did a knife for at least one famous person that I know, and that's
Yes.
Chef Nicole Buisson. Is there anybody else that you've had the opportunity to make knives for?
So she's probably top of the list as far as famous people go, in my knife making repertoire, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
She's fantastic. We grew up in the same small town, Middleburg, New York, upstate New York, and watching her career progress has just been incredible. I've been following her, like I said, for some years. Her culinary experience, where she's worked, everything with the shows and whatnot. It's just been incredible. And she was actually, I was really on the fence when I initially was thinking about applying for Forge and Fire, if I should do it, because I'm just, from a small town up here in New York. And she was definitely an inspiration to be like, you know what, you can go for it. I mean, you definitely can. See if you can get on. So last year when COVID hit, and I was in the culinary industry, I spent 8 years, I think, in kitchens in New York, down in Florida, Italian restaurants. So when COVID hit and the restaurants, I knew that everybody was hurting in that industry. I mean, it was tough, and it was almost overnight. So I knew Nicole was probably feeling pretty down. So I reached out to her and said, Nicole, keep an eye out on your mailbox, because I'm making you a knife and I'm going to ship it out. And I made her a beautiful Damascus 9-inch chef knife. And sent it out to her just to, hopefully be a bright spot in what was, a really, really tough summer for everybody in the culinary industry. I mean, all the brick and mortar stores, it's been a tough year.
Well, and also, she also, talk about a fortuitous time. She had some of her knives stolen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was another, when between getting your knives stolen and that, it was just so it was, it might have been a small gesture, but I was really happy to do it. It was awesome to make that knife. And it was what's called a integral bolster design or construction. So it's a more complex forging process. Instead of just forging one flat knife at the front of the handle at the bolster, you actually have the steel swell out to the width of the handle. So getting that transition from the width of your handle down to the width at the heel of the chef knife, it's tricky to forge. But it was something I wanted to kind of do something special for, and I hope she appreciates it.
Oh, she did. She's that knife goes everywhere with her.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
That new place in Vegas now too, which is great for her. So
I know I want to get out there. It'd be great to get out there and see her, and the food. I mean, my gosh.
Oh yeah, I've had the pleasure of having her do several dinners for us, including a big smoke out there in Vegas, and never ever even close to wanting for more food or going just the stuff that you can create off the fly. And a lot of times we'd go to a restaurant, just say, do you whatever.
Exactly, like it's going to be amazing.
Oh, every time. I mean, every time it was amazing. So that's good on you for doing that. So let me ask you, if let's say that one of the viewers wants to get in contact with you for having a custom made knife for them, what's the process? How do they go about reaching out to you, and roughly
so generally the process, you can contact me through my website. It's robwaymanknives.com. You can contact me through Facebook at the same Rob Wayman Knives on Facebook, on Instagram, on Reddit, all the social medias. So generally speaking, we usually start out with a basic discussion on what you're looking for, what kind of knife you're looking for, the job that it's going to be doing. My process, I usually start out with my sketchbook. And I'll get ideas, and I like my custom knives, I like them to be a true collaboration. Where I'm working with a customer, we're refining the design on paper before steel even goes in the forge. So once we have the design set, then steel goes in the forge. If it's Damascus, I have to make the steel. And every single step of the process, from forging, before it gets heat treated, the grind, the handle materials, the fit up, just everything. I like to keep my clients posted, send a lot of pictures. They probably get annoyed because I'm filling up their inbox, but when the knife's done, I want it to be a true custom, you know, to their exact specifications. And I do a full satisfaction guarantee. So if you want any modifications or anything like that, you know, I do all that free of charge. The most important thing is that when you get the knife, it's perfect. It's exactly what you want. And it's going to last a lifetime, and you can hand it down and it'll probably last a couple more.
Wow. This is just, you know, again, a novice guy asking the question, but say you get one of your custom knives. Is it something that you have to sharpen yourself at home? And if so, do you recommend ways of keeping the knives sharp? And
so I have some of my customers are more experienced, let's say, in the sharpening realm. A lot of them do their own sharpening. You can really, sharpening's its own rabbit hole you can go down. You can go up to 10,000 grit Japanese whetstones where you're sharpening like that. If you're a novice sharpener, and I do a free sharpening service on all my knives. So if you buy one of my knives, after a period of time, you can send it back to me. I can service it, sharpen it, send it back out. But if you want to sharpen at home, there's some really amazing fixed angle sharpening systems that kind of make it so when you're done, it's going to be a pretty good edge, which is the most important thing. A lot of times, if you're just sitting down and you've got a stone and you might not know the angle and everything that you're doing, the fixed angle systems, they kind of take some of that guesswork out. So it makes it a lot easier for somebody at home. If you want to do your own sharpening, you can do a quality job. But like I said, if you don't, you can always ship it back. I sharpen and service all the knives, and then ship them back out.
Great service there. On a side note, sidebar. Once upon a time, I used to live in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And obviously meat is a big thing in Argentina. They love steaks and everything else. And there was a little guy who would go around the neighborhoods, and he had a bicycle. And I don't know how he did it, but he would stop, ask if you wanted knives sharpened. He would turn the bicycle over and take the chain off and do something and put a wheel on it, and get the wheel going and actually sharpen the knives with a bicycle tire.
That's I mean, that's some ingenuity right there, though. Do what you have to do.
Oh yeah. So I know you mentioned it, but you're really big in social media, and I got to tell you, I mean, first of all, I watch your Facebook page because, to your point, I see customers that are posting pictures that you're sending them of, hey, here's where we are, and they're like, oh, hurry, this.
Yeah.
But you also do some really awesome giveaways that I think people need to know about. I mean, you're a couple hundred away from 3,000 likes on your.
We're getting pretty close.
Yeah. So what do you got going on Facebook right now?
Yeah. So we're going to be doing the 3,000 follower giveaway. It's going to be. I'm leaning towards a Damascus chef knife. probably in the 8 to 9 inch range. Excuse me. Possibly a Japanese style, maybe a gyuto, but it's going to be special. It's going to be a showstopper. I really, for my giveaways, I like to do really awesome knives. And you don't have to buy anything. You don't, all you have to do is follow the page. When I post it, I'll have the giveaway instructions on there. And exactly, somebody's going to get an awesome knife. And I also do I'll do raffles here and there too, for the last guy who won one of my knives. He was, just ecstatic because, I mean, these knives, they're handmade. They take a lot of time. So they can be kind of expensive versus going out to the store and buying something mass produced. But for me, you're getting something handmade, and I look at handmade goods in a totally different light now that I do this, because you realize how much time's involved and skill and just learning to get there. So to win one of these knives, I'd be blown away. I'd love it. So
that's why I wanted to talk about that, because I mean, that is, that's a heck of a thing. I know.
Yeah. So check out the Facebook page. It's like I said, Rob Wayman Knives on Facebook. As soon as we hit 3,000 followers, we'll be doing the giveaway. So really excited about that.
Outstanding. Do you have anything you can show the people? Anything you're working on?
So I don't have a lot. I was hoping I'd have like a big Damascus chef knife to show you, but they don't stick around long. The big Damascus, they're in high demand. But yeah, we've got a few.
They can go to your page too and take a look at the knives as well as also what you have. Wow, that is beautiful.
So this is a large chef knife. It's 9 inch. It's on a larger range. This would be more possibly a commercial chef, or if somebody's into cooking at home, if they cook a lot of meats or briskets or things like that. The large chef knives are fantastic. This one is in the 8-inch range.
Is that blue steel? I mean, it looks like, I don't know if it's from the.
I think it's just the
light. Yeah, that's cool.
The lighting in this room. But chef knives, like I said, with my experience in culinary, I love chef knives, and I think looking back, I might have gotten into this just to make all the knives I wish I had back then. But I do have one that's Damascus steel.
Look at that.
And this is a what I call one of my woodsman knives. And this is a twisted Damascus. So the colors that you're seeing in the steel, the black and the steel tone, it's two different kinds of steel. One steel that darkens when etched in acid, and one that doesn't. So twisting it, you start with an initial stack where you alternate the kinds of steel and forge weld it, and you can draw that out and repeat the process until you get up to the layer count that you're happy with. The higher you go in layers, the finer the pattern becomes. So the twisted Damascus, you actually twist the billet and you put those twists in and get that patterning in the steel. And it's really an amazing process, because no two Damascus billets are ever going to be exactly the same. And that's one thing I really love about it. And same thing with these knives. I can make two knives out of the exact same materials, but they're not going to be exactly alike. So when you get one of these knives that it's one of a kind. There's never going to be another one exactly like it, and especially with the Damascus, it just adds another layer to the uniqueness of it.
Well, I know I've got a lot of friends and followers that are really, really into knives. So, listen, you people, give this man a look, because I mean, the stuff is, as you can see, is gorgeous. He's obviously a craftsman. Stands totally behind his work. I didn't know about the free sharpening, that you could send it back in.
Yeah, and lifetime guarantee. If one of my knives ever lets you down in any way, ship it back. I'll repair it or replace it if necessary. The biggest thing is customer satisfaction. They've got my name on them. So, I take that really seriously. When my knives are out there, they've got to perform. And if everything ever happens, you have to stand by them.
100%. And you're not just selling knives, you're selling heirlooms. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Kids and grandkids.
exactly. I make a lot of knives now, and the really special project, I did one over the winter, and it was a Christmas present for one of my customers' two sons. And they are in their middle teens, I think, early high school years.
Mhm.
But they'll have those knives for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah.
And hope they'll be able to hand them down to their kids, and then just that's really cool to kind of be making something that's going to stand the test of time, hopefully.
Outstanding. Well, anything else you got to plug? Socials? Anything else?
So we still have to do the website for the school. So I teamed up with another bladesmith in Millbrook, New York. His name is Greg Sims, and he's going to be a master smith really soon. I mean, his work is incredible. It's been an amazing the last year since we teamed up and started putting the new shop together, along with Dan Tompkins. He's working with us down there, putting it together, getting ready for the classes. He does absolutely amazing work. So for me, when I started doing this, like I mentioned, I wanted to buy a knife originally, but I didn't want to just go online and buy it. I wanted to kind of meet who made it and maybe see how they made it. And there was nobody around me. So for the last 5 or 6 years, I've just kind of been my own little island doing this by myself. So being able to work with other smiths and kind of collaborate, and it's been great. But we've been putting a lot of work in. We just started the Facebook page for the Millbrook School of Knife Making. We'll be doing more as we get closer, but our grand opening is going to be on June 5th. So that's going to be really exciting. If anybody wants to take a trip to upstate New York in the beginning of June, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Come see us down in Millbrook. So I've got a home shop that I work out of, and then I'm down there. I kind of split my time up and work down there. And this summer we'll be offering classes if anybody's interested in learning how to make their own knives, or just wants to kind of check the craft out maybe for a weekend and see if they like it.
That's cool. Very cool. All right. Well, sir, from the History Channel to the J Bro Show YouTube channel.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you having me on. This is great.
Rob, I'll tell you, I mean, again, great stuff. And folks, if you get an opportunity, you got to take a look at this man's handiwork. I mean, it is amazing stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you for coming on and just taking time out of your busy day. I know, it was hard for you to get here and, take you away from, a couple minutes away from your craft. So again,
well, happy to be here.
Thank you for being on, and I certainly appreciate it. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay. Sounds great.